I'm being so heavily censored, I think even with comments, but maybe not. Well, it's hard to say. So I've gone back and forth with this lawyer from Dartmouth. And then I saw that on my last video, all regarding the First Amendment and how it was first for a reason. And so I had just done a video replying again. And then I had saw that he had left a message or a comment saying that it's funny how I complain about the government, but then I go on foundersarchives.gov. Like this is why people get really tired of the experts and the lawyers and the higher ed, because it's like those people think they're never wrong. Of course, even and next to somebody like me, of course, oh no, they would never be wrong. Their school, their university couldn't possibly be wrong, right? Except look at what their university puts out, is all these people that don't understand the founding of America, and all these lawyers that have shredded the Constitution. And so the best thing to do, I mean, as a psych nurse, this is just my opinion, is foundersarchives.gov, first of all, isn't a bunch of lying paper. Like these are literally letters that people, like everyday people, would write the founders, but then also the founders would write. It goes all the way back to post-Constitution. So if you really want to understand why certain founders did what they did, the best thing to do is read their personal letters to understand who they were. Just seems to make sense to me, but of course I didn't go to Dartmouth. So, I'm somehow not even, so that was his reply. Because clearly the First Amendment is first, because the founders were fleeing the fact that they couldn't practice their personal conscience, their freedom of speech. They were being, especially the 1620s, were being persecuted because they didn't want to practice the state-run religion. So there's a reason the first one was first. And for 2 days, I've gone back and forth with this guy telling me, leaving me video replies. And now all of his comments on all my videos are gone. So maybe he's just blocked me, which is fine. That would be best because, I'm tired of if the higher educated could ever get off of their throne for long enough to listen to people that just because we didn't get your education or go to your fancy schools, doesn't mean that you're always right. It doesn't. So, the First Amendment is first because it's an unalienable right. People think for themselves. It's your own conscience. You can't literally take that away from anybody. They're taking speech away, but there's a reason that the first was first. And he was trying to say, no, it was just thrown in there when it was thrown in there. Okay, well, yeah, Dartmouth taught you that. But then Dartmouth also didn't tell you how important God was to the founders. The 1620s, for sure, founders, but also the 1776 founders. Yeah. I said before, they believed in God, and Jesus was pretty much the main one. But they believed that enlightenment was, that science and all that stuff enlightenment would bring people to understand God more. And I think their intentions were in the right place. But then talking to these people that are higher educated, it's like a waste of time. It's why the ordinary people like me in America, we get tired of that. We do. We've gotten tired of it for decades. You're put on this pedestal, you put yourselves on this pedestal, and then you can't even accept the fact that maybe you're wrong because your university told you you're an expert now. Okay, well, you learned what your university told you. But if you really wanted to know the personal founders like Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, you can read their actual personal writings, their letters to each other, their letters to their constituents, their letters, to the crown, all sorts of letters on there. It's a great way to, and that it's not some made up thing. Foundersarchives.gov has been around forever. It's been there forever. So, he's trying to rip that, I'm going to trust that website. Well, I would trust that more than I would trust Dartmouth, for sure. Because it seems all the universities have their own agenda. They really do. And maybe what they should start teaching is your students how to be humble, and that sometimes you could be wrong. You could be wrong and maybe possibly consider that sometimes. But it's very simple. If you go on there, you know that the founders wrote these because the way they wrote it's different. Like our spelling is different now. So there's that. And it's very clear, like the parts that are like that they weren't able to put in there, like that are interpreted because of maybe it didn't transfer over properly or it was hard to read. I mean, it's a very thorough website. You search any term you want and it'll pull up everything going back even pre-Constitution. So it's a great way, I think, in order to really know who the founders were on a personal level, to know them. And so if you know them on a personal level, then you can better understand what motivated and drove them. I don't know why a lawyer out of Dartmouth can't figure that out, but no matter what I say, it's just constantly having to rip me apart. Yeah, that's part of the problem with the higher educated. You're all snobs.